It's coffee.
Control yourself. Yes. Here we go. Here we go. There we are. We are live.
Oh, yeah.
We are live. Welcome to the Social Hour. My name is Nicole York. I am a digital artist and photographer, a senior writer for F-Stoppers, and an author. And today I have with me internationally published, award-winning boudoir photographer out of the Portland, Oregon area, Miss Olga Tenyanin. Yay!
Ding, ding, ding.
If you follow the Photographers Roundtable, you will have seen Olga before as well. She is part of the group that does critiques. And if not, welcome to the wonderful and wacky world of Olga's brain.
Oh, no. Broadcasting live from a shack.
Yeah. But it is the shack where you've been doing all of your artsy, craftsy stuff, right?
It's true. It's a shack of dreams.
The shack of dreams.
Even though it doesn't look like it, but it is. There's a lot of dreams in here. Don't worry about it.
So, but this is the shack where you're going to make me these beautiful resin like cup holders, right? Or
yes,
like
exact coasters.
Coasters,
yes.
yeah.
And it can make a charcuterie board.
Ooh, what?
Yeah, because you can have a whole matching set.
I want a charcuterie board. Yeah.
The cheeses and grapes, your heart desires.
And meats and like mustard and stuff. I'm eating these M&Ms. I just got to trick myself. I needed just a little bit of sugar though today.
My coffee. I'm such a bad at-home coffee drinker. I make a mug and then it just sits, and then by the time it gets freezing cold, I'm like, oh, why did I do this to myself?
I do the same thing with tea. I will, but here's my problem, and I don't know why I do this, but anything aside from water, I will never drink all of it. I don't know why, but I'm like talking you up right now on the interwebs and letting everybody know we're live. Hear my keyboard. Yeah, but whenever if like soda, tea, milk, if I needed milk with like cookies or something, I don't know why, but I never drink all of it. I always have, especially, oh, look, Becca said she woke up just for you.
Aww.
Yeah, but I never drink it all. I don't know why, especially soda, which I don't drink that often, but when I do, I seem to want like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 drinks. That's all. Once it starts to get warm or like, yeah, it has to be super cold. And as soon as it starts to get warm, I don't want it anymore. I don't know why.
Like the fizzies go away. It's just not the same.
Yeah, I don't know. And then like as soon as my tea starts to like cool down a little bit, I drink like half to 3/4 of my tea, and then I just don't want it anymore. Water seems to be the only
little,
thing
like,
I finish.
Tea mug warmers are a thing where you can set it on there.
It's like, and they also have sweaters. Have you seen those? Yeah. Like a sweater for your teacup. Yes.
Exactly. There are ways.
I really, really want one of those. But I feel like I need normal sized teacups because mine are like this big. Or maybe I could just crochet one myself, you know.
There you go.
Little tiny threads. Make a pretty little crocheted jumper for my tea.
Oh, a jumper.
Yeah, a jumper.
Some britches.
Some britches and a jumper, you know, like you do. Oh, pantaloons. I'd have to style them, like design them so that they're very, very stylish.
A little mustache on it so it curls, and maybe a monocle.
Now I actually kind of want to do that on my teacups. Like get my stuff on. That way when I put his sweater on, he looks really snug.
Yeah. I have a cane that it can twirl.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have all these ideas now.
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome. Just gave you a multi-million-dollar company.
It's really little. It's like your tea buddy. It's like your little pal.
My buddy.
Hangs out with you while you drink your tea. I like it. So, Olga Tenyanin. How wrong do I get your last name?
Not that wrong.
I feel like I'm missing some like inflection or something in the middle.
Yeah, it's kind of flat.
Yeah. Where does it go? Tell me how it goes.
Tenyanin.
Tenyanin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's more y in there than
Yeah,
what the name would imply. Is it the
yeah.
N that has an extra like between the N and the I, it seems
It's
like?
the Y, because it's the same in Russian. There's a Y. It's like a yeah sound.
So it
Or it's I don't know, man. I just say it really fast and
yeah. Well, the Y makes sense.
yeah.
Tenyan, and then you have the N-I-N. So is it
Oh, that's true. The
is it
N-I-N is
nyin,
like
like
a
nyin?
N-Y-N kind of. Nyin. Nyin.
Okay.
Nyin.
Nyin. Nyin. That makes more sense. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm always this much off that I feel bad because I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Right. I mean, it's technically a made up last name anyway, so.
Really?
Yeah, I am from the Soviet Russia. Ooh, USSR represent. What's up, Iron Curtain? And my dad's father, my grandfather, like basically because if anyone knows their history, Russia was pretty much devastated between World War I and World War II. And so I am living proof of that because my grandfather, after World War I, basically like there was no money, people were eating whatever they could. And so I think either my grandfather's parents died or he ran away. And eventually he went to an orphanage and they're like, "What's your name?" And he said something and they just wrote it down. So we don't really know when he was really born or like who his parents were or how old he really was.
Oh, that's crazy. So for people who don't know or aren't familiar with you, so your family immigrated when you were young.
Mm-hmm. I
And
was 3 years old and I turned 4 that same month in January of like 1992, which if you know history is literally right at the cusp of the fall of the USSR. So I just recently learned that I am technically a refugee of communism. Mm-hmm. That's how we got here. Like I didn't really know. I figured it was something like that, but like officially, my dad told me recently. So I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah. So what was that? Do you remember very much of like anything from that period, like from Russia or the trip or like the transition?
Oh yeah, I remember it all. I remember before we were going, I thought we were going to a different planet. I had no idea what was happening. I was just like, oh, we're in Russia now, but we're going to America, whatever that means another planet. We're taking a jet plane. I don't know.
Yeah, well, when you're little, that's kind of how you conceptualize stuff. Like
exactly,
it might as well have been another planet for you.
It was basically this whole, and I was just super excited. And I remember being on the plane, and for some reason, my brother and I got to go talk to the pilot on the plane.
That's cool.
Yeah, like I have these weird vague memories, and I remember people around me like talking, and I know they were talking in English, but to me it sounded completely foreign. I had no idea. It's like the way that if somebody was speaking Japanese to me, I'm just like, I don't know what you're saying, like at all.
Yeah.
But now that it's just funny to not know what they were saying, but now to know English. So it's like this really strange early memory.
Right. And then I've heard you talk before about, but for the viewers that haven't, how you like the way that you kind of experienced transitioning to American culture and then learning English and being kind of the like de facto translator for your family and dealing with kids and stuff, that really formed like a lot of like how you view yourself and your outlook on the world and stuff, didn't it?
Oh yeah, like just having to be a lot older than I was, like I learned English first, my brother and I, and since he's 7 years older than me, so he would kind of be off, doing teenager things, because when we moved here, he was like 10, 11, 12, so he was already a teenager and he didn't want to be at home, so I would be the one that would have to answer the phone calls or go on appointments, and like my mom would say something and I would have to say it in English, and so like I feel like that really hindered me in a lot of ways, because I just like, it was like, why do I have to do this?
Yeah.
And you would think like, oh, I'm like, I feel like an adult, but I'm like, no, I don't want to, but I had to. So it was like this weird. So I mean, I don't really know how that really shaped me, like since it's my life. So
it's hard to see from the inside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what I would have been like if I never had to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And then when you went back, so a few years ago, you guys actually got to go back, and like, what was that like? Kind of, did any of your memories, like as a child, could you reconcile those?
Yeah. So we have a house still in Russia, and I've been back twice. since we moved here. I went back in like 2001, like right after 9/11. So that was interesting, going through all the planes and airports.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I remember the house. I remember because the house is really distinct because my mom had actually painted all of the walls and like really like ornate whatever. And with some of my earliest memories is actually falling asleep to the ceiling because there was like paintings on it. So like being rocked to sleep when I was a baby is some of my early memories. So I remember the movement of the paintings. Like it's really strange. But and the courtyard from where we lived and like all of the stuff, like I remembered it all. I mean, you know, as much as like a 3-year-old could. So I have actual early memories of being in Russia. Like when my grandmother died, it was a big thing because that was kind of sort of the catalyst to us moving.
Gotcha.
Because of the way that she died and how like the government handled it. And yeah. Basically, it's like everything's free, but that means that the paramedics show up 3 hours late and drunk.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then your grandmother is low priority because she's old. Yeah. And so after that, my dad was like, we need to get out of here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, man, and then I have to think, so I've seen some of the pictures of your mom's paintings. Like I remember you showed me a couple that you had taken pictures of, right? Like on your phone.
Yeah, when we went back, yeah.
Yeah, and they are amazing, like ornate, like so detailed, and her line work is so incredibly beautiful. Do you think her being an artist like affected you at all as far as like you being an artist? I mean, I know for people that are familiar with their photography, like they're familiar with that, but you actually drew and like you did other stuff before you started photography.
Oh yeah, I've had my hand at everything. I just kind of landed on photography. When I was like really young, I used to do beadwork. I like attempted to draw, but since my mom was so like hardcore about being like a pencil, like an artist, she was like, okay, cool, you want to draw, let's do this. Okay, you're gonna sit down and you're gonna draw lines until your eyes bleed. And I'm just like, I don't want to do that. Like, holy shit. Because she actually went to school for like graphic design, illustration, like in Russia. So it was all like, you know, making marketing type materials, but like on pen and paper. So she was like, you're going to have to make it perfect. And I'm like, I just want to make a pretty picture. Like, like I'm like 7 years old. I'm just like, but.
Yeah. So do you think, did that affect how you like became a photographer at all? Or did any of that play into when you started photography? Like what kind of brought that about?
It's really bad reason. Well,
no, it's an amazing reason, actually. I think a lot of people can probably sympathize though.
Yeah, okay. So I started photography because I wanted to make sweet MySpace profile pictures. And so that was like what, 2005, 2006 is when I started being like, I want to do this. And then, you know, I was like, Mom, buy me a camera. And she's like, that's really funny. Like, you want me to spend how much money on a camera? And it's like something you've never done before. And by this time, my mom has seen me pick up lots of stuff and just like try it out and then like not do it again. You know, because I tried a lot of different, like Nicole said, like a lot of different mediums, watercolors. I did cross stitch. Anything I could get my hands on, I tried, but she's like, I'm not gonna spend $1,000 for something that's gonna collect dust, you know. And so I had to get my very first job working at a diaper factory, working 12-hour shifts, 4 days in a row, 12, 4 on, 4 off, to get my first camera because I really wanted it that bad.
I think that's pretty awesome, though. I mean, if you think about it, like you obviously wanted to take like better pictures for MySpace, right? But obviously there was some kind of like, it was more, there had to have been more there than just wanting to look nice on MySpace for you to like get yourself a job and work these 10-hour, 12-hour shifts. And you know what I mean?
I guess it was kind of like the, you know, inner teenager push.
Yeah.
To like want to be like, you know, pretty pictures on the internet. So, and then once I got it, I will never forget the very first photo I ever took with my DSLR. I was standing in my yard. I had just got off the 12-hour shift. The camera came.
Yeah.
I literally leapt out of bed. I slammed into the wall when I heard the buzzer, and I was like running all around the house. And I got it. I picked it up, and like I went outside and I took a picture. And I was just like, oh, it's so bad.
I can't believe it.
I was just like completely blown out, and I was just like, it didn't even look as good as real life did, you know. I was just like, this is devastating.
Yeah.
Because before then I had like this tiny baby like Sony point and shoot like
Yeah.
1
Yeah.
megapixel that I took.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got like 3.
No, I literally had 1.2. It was so bad. And so I just stood there and I'm just like, this is gonna be hard. It's gonna be a lot harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And right then and there, I could have just been like, well, you know, I'm gonna sell this, but that actually made me want to get better, and it made me want to know how to do it.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, I'm just trying to get better and know how to do it better.
This is like a never-ending journey, right?
Yeah, at least now I can at least take a picture where it looks the same as real life.
Or like what you see in your head, right? Or like
Yeah.
what you want it to look like. I think it's really interesting because like during that time, you also like, so you've taught yourself like graphic design and marketing, and like you had like all the HTML skills and stuff. And it's really interesting how much of that stuff is born out of this desire to like connect with people via MySpace, right? And like build a cool place for people to come hang out.
Like learning HTML, so my website, like my profile's cool, learning how to code, learning how to make graphics, just like doing all that stuff. And it's actually really, really funny because towards the end of like my high school years, my senior and junior year, I got Photoshop. So I was actually doing graphic design before photography because I can get my hands on Photoshop a lot easier.
Right.
And so I would literally skip class to sit on Photoshop. Like my mom would go to work and I would go hide in my closet while she went to work to pretend like I'm gone. And then she would go to work and then, or I know one time she pretended because she knew I was doing it.
Yeah.
She's like, what are you doing?
She got you.
Yeah, so stupid. It's not helping me whatsoever. And so it's really funny because now I'm just like, guess what I do now? Like everything you got mad at me for, because I had so much more passion towards that versus like sitting in class.
Right.
Math.
It's so funny to me that you mentioned that too, because as like the mom of a teenager, that's one of those things I always struggle with is like, you know, his dad and I want him to be like driven and have things he wants to do. And he's like really into gaming and story and like RPGs. And because of like the different worlds and the storytelling and like all like this interaction with like fantasy world, right? And it's funny because Ty and I are like right on the edge of that generation where like we had video games, but it wasn't the same. Like most of our time was still spent outside playing. We didn't have computers at home until like high school, I think. And even then the computer we had was like an 80s Apple.
Well,
it was
you
pretty
know,
rough.
I know because Tom's experience with computers, even my age, like he's the same. He just is not the same. Well, my experience with computers is a little bit different than most people because, like I said, I have a brother that's 7 years older, and he was super into electronics. So I've had a computer since I was 6-7 years old. So I've been using the internet since then because my parents, you know, I'm a latchkey kid. They'd be like, "Here's a computer. I'm going to work. Don't set the house on fire. Here's some food."
And you're like,
yeah. So I remember my first website I ever went on was jennyjones.com. And I was just like, she's like, go on our website. I'm like, I will.
You're like, okay. Whatever you say, TV person. You sound like it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience, even for my age. So I've been on computers for a really long time. And my dad is an engineer. So I have that electronic type of a typical like it's weird because I have both of those. Like I said, my mom's an artist, my dad is an engineer, so there's me so it makes sense that I fall into photography because there's a lot of like numbers.
There's a lot of
involved.
technical yeah, that's cool. I feel like it shows a lot in your work because even like the technical choices that you make are not necessarily like they're so specific and stylized to you that ends up being kind of this blend of like technical and artistic, you know what I mean? Because a lot of your work is like it's not underexposed because it's properly exposed for what you're going for, but it has this really kind of like intimate feeling to it, right? Because it is all just a little bit kind of darker and so like the highlights are muted a little bit, but it has this kind of sensual feel to it. And that's like a blend of technique and art, right? Where you're kind of using this very technical capabilities in order to get the artistic vision that you want.
That's true. Yeah. Making sure that my gear can handle low light. And
Right.
then shooting, I mean, yeah, I guess I do. I shoot properly and then I go in and lower stuff. So I need to be able to have a lens or a camera that can handle and still have details in the shadows.
Yeah. And so as a boudoir photographer, what kind of drew you to that style? I know that in part, you fell into it a little bit through helping a friend, right?
Yep, exactly. This was like 2011, 2010 ish, right when kind of boudoir photography started kind of hitting the stage and like
really picking up.
Really picking up, and like marathons were a thing, and at least, on my end, because I didn't have a studio. So you'd rent a hotel and you want to make the most out of your hotel. So you have like 10 girls, while one's getting their makeup and done, you're shooting. And so my friend, like, I heard inklings about it, but I wasn't thinking about it all. And she was like, I just rented a room at the Hyannis Hotel. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool. Like, let me know if you need help. Like, I don't know, to help wrangle people, because it seems like it's going to be a thing. She's like, oh, yeah, totally cool. Yeah, so I'll shoot and then you'll shoot. And then, like, I don't know how. I was like, I guess I'm shooting too.
Like, okay.
Yeah, and actually, luckily, I mean, not luckily, but at the time I worked at a salon with a lot of willing participants. And so that my very first shoot I ever did, I shot like 7 girls in a row. And and just like the vibe of like being in a hotel room, getting your hair and makeup done, like giggling and laughing, and then just the way that people are just like, oh, that's me, like on the screen, that's me. Like that is just so, it's lovely, and it just makes people, helps them realize that the stuff they see in magazines or on the internet, it's like that could be you too. Like you shouldn't feel bad about yourself, because you're looking at a team of people versus just like you looking in a mirror. So it's like help reflect and feel good about themselves on many levels. And I think that was probably what really drew me to it. And just like people are paying me to like host a slumber party, I guess. That's exactly what it was. It was just really, it seemed out of doing weddings, babies, families, it seemed the most in line with my personal like vibe.
Is that what has kept you doing it for so long? Is that like having people see themselves and be amazed that they can look like that? Or is there something else going on with like intimate photography that you really connect with?
I mean, it definitely started that way, but I've kind of like, I do clients, obviously, like, that's how I get most of my paid work, but then I do a lot of models. And so they know they look good. So it's not the same.
Right.
So more of that's where it comes from, kind of like the storytelling ish and more intimate type, more of like art portraits. Like you can hang this on a wall because of the shapes and the light and stuff, versus just like showing somebody they're beautiful, which clients versus models. So I find most of my, I don't know, je ne sais quoi of like how I find I love the client part of it and like helping women feel that way. But I also just love the art of creating images where it makes people, I don't know, sometimes maybe offended in a way, or like trying to show like beauty. Just because I've had some people get offended with some of my work, and I'm just like, okay. But like just showing intimacy in, and like I guess intimacy in a sexual but non-sexual way, you know what I mean? Because it's like most of my photos, like they don't really show anything, but it's still very
it's still provocative, right? Like it's kind of like it's provocative, but it's not like erotic per se. Is there like, so do you feel kind of like there's like a status quo that you're kind of trying to like hit your head against a little bit, like yes, this is provocative but still kind of beautiful, acceptable, not to be ashamed of type thing? Or
like just mostly just not to be ashamed of, or just, I guess it's like, it really, really bugs me that in the United States that you can see all this war and like fighting and like brutality, but yet, you can't show a woman's nipple. Like, like what sense does that make? I was actually, it's really funny. So I'm watching this really trashy TV show. It's called like Salem Witches or something. It's really bad, but I'm already invested, so I have to watch it. I love witchcraft and fun, whatever. And they're like these witches that are the militarized. I don't know, whatever. It's terrible. But I love it. And so one of the scenes, they have some like quote unquote sex scenes, and it's basically like an elbow here and like, you know, a leg there, and just
Sure.
like very, you know, TV. And then
Right.
the straight up the next scene is this girl in a bathtub with her like throat severed, and you see it all, and I'm just like, so that's okay, but the other is just no. There's like, it's just like, so it's like, you know, trying to like, you know, walk on that fine line of what's okay to be shown and what's not, and kind of like trying to help people move towards like, hey, it's fine, everything's fine.
Yeah, I think that that's an interesting way to go, like a way to look at it too, because I mean, I know we still kind of have a lot of kind of puritanical ideals in the States, and people really do have this strange thing about the human body where like it's fine if you are looking at a sculpture, you know what I mean, or a painting, because then it's art. But if a person wants to be at the beach without a top on, or, you know, whatever else, all of a sudden, oh my God, that's just not acceptable. Even sometimes mothers feeding their babies, which is so strange. And it's really strange how many women you get who will be like,
I feel like women sometimes are the biggest.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of crazy.
I've seen in like a lot of like the boudoir groups and stuff of just people's family members, you know, just like, you're doing porn and blah blah blah, all this stuff, and it's like, are you okay?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
And then it's like, well, what does it matter? Like, I'm, you know, this person's happy with my work, like I'm creating art, like what
yeah, like why does this have anything to do with you?
Yeah, and like you decide to like message me, or, you know, be mad at me, or like, I personally never have had that happen to me, but I've just seen it a lot, and so it's just interesting.
Yeah, I agree. It is crazy that especially here we are so much more like accepting of war and brutality and death and destruction and all of this other stuff.
For as much freedoms as the United States have, there's definitely a lot of oppression.
Like social.
Yeah, social. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Social oppression, and just like, you know, say like running back to Russia, like you can drink on the street, and here it's like you can't do that. I mean, I live in Vegas, but like certain little like no, you can't do that. And it's like, but why? You know, not like that I just want to like walk around drunk, or maybe I do. I don't know.
My freedoms.
Give me my freedom. And like, don't get me wrong, like, you know, we moved to America for a reason. There's, you know, it's definitely like 1,000% better here. And, you know, you have the right to say something, and you won't get thrown into the back of a car and into a
disappear forever. Yeah.
Something bad about our dumpster trash man, but you know.
So yeah. Yeah, I think that's an interesting conversation, and one worth having at kind of where those social mores come from and why it's still such a taboo thing. And when we lived overseas, it was people were much more comfortable and accepting of just the body in general. Like if you were going to see an advertisement for a shower, there probably was going to be a naked person standing in that shower, and nobody was like, oh, it's just like, yeah, that's in a shower, you're naked. Like that's, you know, that's how that happens.
That reminds me, until recently, like any kind of shaving commercials, they never ever showed like hair being shaved. It was always just like, look at this beautiful bush, and like, you know, it never really showed what it was for. It was But now I think we're moving towards more of a kind of a realness, because now I see a lot of Facebook ads of like people actually shaving, you know, instead of like an apple being shaved. You know, that when you're, you know, your peach is so fuzzy, you have to shave it.
Oh my gosh. We're definitely got to make sure that this one says it's not for children.
Nothing I do is for children.
No, this is indeed true.
Yeah.
Funny story. When I had my last baby, Olga, who has been part of my family basically for a while now, come to visit. We have small baby. Olga, do you want to hold the baby? No, I'm good. Like the best thing ever. And it's so funny because some people will be like, geez, it's like, it's not a thing for her. Like, it's
like, babies why do you want me to hold your baby? Like, I don't want to hold it. Like, I don't give the bad vibes. Like, set it down. Like, no, thank you.
That's cool. I'm good. Thank you. Do you have any kitties or puppies anywhere?
Yeah. I don't know. Give me a kitty. Give me a puppy. I'll be like, yes, give me.
Yep.
The way I feel about kitties and puppies, I can see people feel about babies. You know, baby enters the room, they're like, ooh, and I'm just like, oh.
You're like, oh no.
Yeah. I don't know why I feel that way. It's just like the small thing that like matters so much to somebody, and it's like you're holding it, and what if you drop it? And... If you like
drop their
poke
very
it in the back
important
of the
small
head, it's just like done. Like I don't.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just a
like,
lot. Like the thing is just like I realize how much of like it's like a little human, and I just can't.
it is. I mean, yeah, it's a big deal.
Like, yeah.
Surprisingly, babies are like surprisingly tough. Like
Yeah.
their bones are bendy, so that their babies were basically engineered so that bad parents would have a harder time messing them up, because like they're all squishy, like their bones are still kind of bendy because you know they
Yeah.
gotta like get squeezed through a tiny hole, but
Have
like
you
their
seen those
bones.
ladies that are just like swinging their babies around and stuff? And I'm
Yes,
just
and
like,
then
oh.
also like after my oldest one was born, he was born in a hospital in Germany, and the doctor is like checking him out, and he's got him by a leg, and he's like fling, fling, hanging him by an arm. And as like me growing up in America, I'm like, oh my god, what are you doing?
You're breaking my baby.
Yes, can I break him? And the doctor's just like fling, fling, and they're like, oh yeah, like babies are tough. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
Okay.
yeah, they're surprisingly harder to mess up a baby than you would think.
Yeah.
I think generally you have to mess up a baby on purpose. You don't generally mess one up just by like, having it and
That's
trying
true.
to be careful.
I just nothing that doesn't bring me any joy to like hold a baby. Like
Right.
it's just like this is somebody's like life thing in my body, in my hands. I can't do it.
Like, why do I have your parasite?
Yeah. Like, oh, that's nice. Here you go.
Like you got rid of it. That I don't want it.
I know. Just like I don't know. It's just like there's always plenty of people who want to hold the baby. So I just
let them. They like it. So
they
let
like
them.
the baby. You can give me your kitten. I will hold it forever. I will steal it.
I will hold it. I will take it. It'll be your kitten baby forever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I don't hate on other people. Like obviously, like have your babies and stuff.
Sure.
You kind of need it for. It's just I don't want babies. I don't like
No.
No.
Little kids are kind of like that too. The little guys with the babies, they're like, oh, look at it. And they're like, it's not very much fun. Like, I don't even know why we have this. Like, why do we, it contributes nothing.
Yeah.
I can't
Especially
play with
for
it.
a little kid, you have to be so careful. You're like way more careful because you're small, you're just like, why did you give me this?
Yeah. I'm lucky my older guys were pretty good with their little brother, and pretty cute to see them like want to read him stories and like stuff like that. And I'm like, oh yeah. But like I can definitely see, especially if it's not something you're invested in. Becca said it's like a large slug.
Yeah. That just like
lays there eating and pooping.
Yeah, on you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Sometimes definitely like puking on you or pooping on you or both.
Worth it.
It's not puke, poop, if it comes out of the body, they will probably get it on you at some point. So yeah, this is a great photography conversation.
Yeah, right.
So how are you handling the elephant smushing us all right now? It's not even an elephant in the room. It's like an elephant rampaging through the room.
Right. And we're just in the destruction going.
Yeah, like what? Who let this elephant in here?
I think I'm handling it as a person pretty well. Like I'm okay. I'm pretty introverted anyway. Like my life has really not changed that much.
Right.
Other than going to the store and being stressed out about it.
Yeah. Isn't that a weird, like you're gonna just go have like, I'm just gonna go get food, like to eat, to live, which I've done several times a week, probably for my entire life. And then you go and you're like, I found myself wanting to like wait for people to leave an entire aisle and then like go in and hold my breath so that I didn't breathe in whatever they left behind. Like, and you see like all of a sudden random innocuous people look dangerous, right?
Yeah, and like it's also stressful because you see old people without like a face mask and just like being way too close to people, and you're like, do you just not care? Like, just ready to go? I don't know. It's just like it's a mixture of, you can see some people not taking it serious, some people taking it very serious.
Yeah.
And then just not know, and then also feeling sad that these workers are putting their lives on the line to give you your Oreos or whatever, and it sucks. But it's like they're essential, and I really hope that coming out of this they are properly taken care of, because of like they've been the backbone is all the truck drivers, all the USPS, which is a whole nother topic of how big, everything. It's just like, it's, it's just a lot. And personally, I'm fine. Like, I got lots of stuff to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, I started, I picked up the resin stuff, which
Right.
is kind of, I think, because photography wise, I've been kind of in a lull. Like, I don't know. It's just sometimes it's hard to even pick up and edit anything. But that was way before quarantine. That's nothing
Right.
new. That's nothing new. And so I've been finding, like, trying to find other things to distract me, which, I mean, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm not bad. I'm definitely a lot better off, I think, than a lot of people, because luckily I right before this all happened, I actually quit my full-time job to start doing photography full-time. But
The timing.
the timing is beautiful. So luckily I still work and do like social media managing and product shots. Well, I'm not doing any product shots right now, but for a online sock company.
Yeah.
So I still have work, which pays the bills, which is, I don't know. I wouldn't be sitting as pretty if I didn't have that. So
Yeah.
a lot of people's lost their jobs. So
right. And do you have any, like, do you feel like this experience and like not being able to photograph anything right now, do you feel like that will motivate you more to get like back into the studio and stuff once all this is over? Or does it have you kind of re-examining how you're going to pursue all of this? Or
kinda. I think over the past couple of even like years, I've been kind of trying to think of like, over time you kind of fall into where you want to be more than like I said before. The first time was like, I don't really want to do weddings. I don't want to do babies. I don't want to do families because they stressed me out more than it was worth.
yeah.
I didn't think I was as good, like, as like, baby talking a baby to get it like laugh. Like that wasn't worth it for me.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm like slowly moving into more of a, like, doing content for my Patreon. So working more exclusively with models and doing that kind of digital stuff instead of clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like right now that has made me realize like that's really important right now, is like being kind of self-sufficient and not having to worry about the public to get my money. Like, other
Right.
than, working with professionals. And so, making content for Patreon, selling presets, making digital bundles, and having like some sort of constant stream of money versus just relying on people in general.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. And are you gonna start looking for more kind of, will you be taking clients for like social media management, or is that something that like you're gonna pursue or be interested in to like keep things going? Or
I like money.
yes to money, no to babies.
Yes,
Hire
to money.
Olga to manage your social media.
Right. It would just be big pictures of babies crossed out.
No babies.
Right. No, it's like, I've noticed that a lot of people kind of have a hard time juggling all of their social media accounts and like being online.
So true.
And I feel like personally, I don't have a hard time doing it at all. Like,
Yeah.
I've been doing it for a long time. I can really kind of like sequester my brain, and like it doesn't affect me as some people do. Like
Right.
it seems like emotionally, and I don't mind it.
So would you have any advice for photographers on things that they can or should be doing right now to like handle their social media, or maybe kind of start prepping for a return to work, or just anything in general? Because I definitely identify with what you said as far as being one of those people who finds it really difficult to manage their social media, because for quite a while now, I've had two entirely separate social media lives, one as an author and one as a photographer. And I definitely have found that making the mental switch between how I interact with the photography community and my potential clients as a photographer is an entirely different realm than how I interact with, potential readers and other authors. And it is hard for me to like make that mental switch into, okay, now I'm going into this mode where these are the kind of topics that I focus on or whatever. And then even also just finding the time, because it definitely seems like, and you can correct me here if I'm wrong, but it seems like social media is one of those games where you have to put in, like you have to engage somehow, you have to like be part of the system in order to like see those returns for your investment.
Oh yeah, you have to stay in the public eye. I
Right.
think some of the best things I could tell people too who don't have the mental wherewithal to post every single day, to be actively posting, is just set up actual like what is it called when you
Like
schedule your
schedule.
posts.
Right.
Yeah, like take 1 week, each day you think about something else and you go, okay, so I'm, doing my writing stuff. I know that every Wednesday I have this content. I'm going to schedule every Wednesday for this to be posting. And you can have your own system where that like I said, like every Wednesday at noon you post something so that it's already going to go up. It's already there, and that you can
Right.
just go into the comments and start replying to people.
Mm-hmm.
So all you have to do is just like interact with people versus having to, put it up, think of what to say, and then, do it. So I think scheduling your posts is probably the number one. In advertising, advertising in social media, especially right now. I know a lot of people have a lot of money, but this is when everybody is on their phone. This is when everybody's online. So this is the time to get their eyes on your stuff, because attention is
Right.
attention is where the money's at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of us don't realize, I mean, as photographers, we don't realize what marketing agencies and like production companies know very well, which is all of this is a game of attention, right? Like
Yes.
it all comes down to whether or not you can get and maintain attention long enough to funnel people toward
Yep.
buying or that next step of your content funnel or whatever.
I think it's like somebody has to see your logo, your company about like 14 times or something before it becomes like, I need a soda. Oh, Coca-Cola, like
Right.
to get that brand recognition.
Yeah.
So a lot of advertising, I mean, other than if you have like something coming out, which is like a purposeful, a lot of it's just like, hey,
Like top of
don't
mind
forget.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like don't forget about me. Like, the fact that McDonald's still advertises, like who's gonna forget what McDonald's is? Nobody.
Right. Right.
But if they
Because
stop advertising, they, it'll be less in the public eye. And so they just do it to keep up appearances.
yeah.
And obviously, like they're launching a new Mc whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
So
kind
it's
of
like,
mix something.
yeah. And so just like, I mean, personally for me, I have a hard time doing this for my own stuff, because like I do a lot of stuff for a lot of other people. So my mental bucket at the end of the day is a little bit low. So maybe
Right.
that might be my problem with my photography and stuff, is like by the end of the day, it's like I'm already checked out.
Yeah.
But posting every day
Is pretty
is a
big.
huge,
Yeah.
like just keeping people's attention, because then if you don't post, people forget about you.
Yeah.
Because you have so much coming at you every day.
Yeah, especially if you spend much time at all on social media,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
a lot of stuff to take in. So when you're working with a company like Sock Dreams, how do you go about making them, their posts or their advertisements, like stand out enough to get attention?
So with Sock Dreams, they hired me because of, I think, me, because I'm a goofy goober, and so they like support any weird thing I want to say.
Right.
Something like any like not weird, quirky, just kind of fun. Especially now, it's like we're putting a big emphasis on just like keeping it positive, because there's so much happening and everyone's feeling a certain way. But it's like you have to remind people that it's in certain ways it's still okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So I do get a lot of inspiration from the actual socks itself. Like, say that I want to post about like mermaid socks. They're little mermaid kitties. And a lot of it is just my like natural reaction. I'm just like, mermaids, yes, you want them.
Yeah.
I know you do. And so just like being real with people, I think in these days they don't want that glossy, overproduced, a panel of 12 people approved stamp.
Right.
They want like to know that there's a real person behind these words and not just like a polished turd.
Yeah. Well, I hope polished turds are not doing all the things. Real people,
You know
please.
what I mean? But it's just like,
Yeah.
back in like say 1999, where everything was just so polished and it was so just like, we can't say that, we can't do this. Oh, it has to be, it's not like it's like business and people. And there was a really thick wall between the two. And now I think it's really thin. And, at least the people that are making it now, it's because, why Victoria's Secret is just dead, because they refuse to do inclusive sizing, and the CEO crash. And so they're dead. And now you see the rise of like, small companies, like Fenty, but with, she's Rihanna and she's huge, but like she knew what the market was missing and was plus size. different shades of skin for her makeup, and she knew that was there, and she knew that it needed to happen, and it was so weird that no one was doing it.
Yeah. So do you think, well, before I ask that question, we have a couple comments on there. Reality Reimagined, who has been awesome and hanging with us for these interviews so far. So thank you for being here. He says, speaking of social media advertising of our brands, do you feel that advertising the business on a foundation of COVID relief is a good or bad move?
Both. I think if you're using it to profit in a way of like, you know, like, I think there's a good way to go about it, and that's something we've definitely at Talk Dreams, we like really, we're like, we don't want to profit, but we want to let people know that, you know, we're here and we're taking precaution and more. Yeah, it's just like so tricky because it's like it can be seen either way, but I think if as long as you do it in a very elegant way, I don't know, elegant, just it's really a hard subject.
Is
I
it
guess and
seem
no.
like, it seems like from what I've seen so far, if you or the company is honest about a desire to actually be helpful and be uplifting, yes, and take care of people still, like, you know, we realize things are hard, but we're still here for you, and we're taking these precautions, and maybe we're, you know, donating so much of something, yep, to food banks, or, you know, like, as long as it's like these kind of honest attempts for the betterment of everybody, it seems like to be a lot more successful than like, hey, here's a sale, you know, like,
yeah, check out these
COVID-19
like, yeah,
themed
check out this
sock,
shirt that yeah, exactly. I guess really the intent of what you're doing is, as long as it's, you know, apparent, or it's, you know, it's always obvious when people are doing something with the wrong intent and like just trying to make money versus like actually caring, which I think I got lucky with Sock Dreams. Like, they really do care about their workers. Mm-hmm. They care about their customers. Like, I could see it through from the way that they deal with them and how quick they are just to be like, oh, you know, like fixing stuff and just all the way down. So I'm not worried about that, but I've seen other companies, you could tell that they're using it as just another reason to sell stuff. Yeah. I think it's very apparent. And I think as long as you have the intent of trying to be helpful, like actual intent versus pretend intent. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that's something right now that artists, photographers, et cetera, like creators in general should be looking at, is kind of how they can engage in this moment socially in ways that is like uplifting in general, as a good way to kind of maintain an online presence and maintain that kind of viability once all of this is gone, to stay top of mind if they're like positively engaged in the situation?
You know, yes, I'm gonna say yes and no, because I think, well, it just comes down to just like being real. My personal is just like, if you don't feel positive, just like don't post anything, and like maybe later on when you feel a little bit better, you know, start to actually engage, and because you don't want it to be fake, and then you have it come across that way. So it's like, if you, I mean, it's tricky because like I said, I haven't been really like hit as hard as other people. Yeah. So for me, being positive is very easy, you know, because I'm like at home with my cat, like, woo, you know. Yeah. So it's really hard for me to say, and like I do empathize with people, and maybe, but like then you could also say fake it till you make it in a certain way, like trying to be positive. And I think with marketing and social media, there has to be like a dash of realness, a dash of positivity, and like, you know, mix it together and to create posts. And there's really no right and wrong answer, because everyone's business is different and everyone's needs are different. Right. And so it's really hard to say, but I would, you'd probably try to be as positive as possible. And then maybe, or not, or maybe don't post at all.
Authentic,
you know,
right? Like, yeah. So follow-up question, as a photographer, if you have something to sell, do you offer discounts because of the financial strains that most people are experiencing, or stick to base pre-COVID-19 price points?
Oh, that's a personal, like, whatever. I mean, like I said, everyone's business is different. Like, I don't know what your COD is like. And I mean, it kind of depends on how you are. So if you know, you're hurting, and adding another discount on top of it might make you hurt even more, then, you know, you can't really do that. Or maybe you're okay, and so you really want to help people, or maybe you just want to sell more, and so that's, you're putting a discount on it because it's, with discounted price you might sell more for less. It's so hard to say. It's kind of like you have to do what's right for your own business.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There's
Yeah.
so many variables to take into account when you're figuring out what your pricing is. It's actually something that we've been discussing recently, is, how you go about deciding how to price things. And there's so much that comes into play with that. And I think you really have to consider, it seems to be harder for people who do photography on the side or just as a like secondary source of income. It seems to be a lot harder for people to figure out how to price then, because they don't have that impetus of like, I must pay my bills with this money. Whereas people who are living off of their photography probably have done the work of like, okay, how much do I need to earn to cover the cost of doing business plus my personal expenses? And then how many days of work or a year can I work? And breaking all that down to, okay, this is how much I have to make per working day in order to like be sustainable.
That's the dance though. That's the dance.
Yeah, it totally
some
is.
Some people don't really need the money and some people really do, and so it's, I can't say for people's businesses. It's just whatever they feel like they need to do, and go with it with great intent and be authentic. Is the only way that you can, we say that you really do want to help people, because I know at the beginning of this a lot of people were giving things off for like 50% off on their digital content, which makes sense because it's not, it's not really taking anything away. It's a digital content, so it makes sense to help people out. And while you're stuck at home, something to do. And so, with everything that you do, there's always going to be a plus for you and a plus for other people.
Yeah, I agree. So since we're on to marketing right now, let's say people are starting to so if photographers are going to start building top of mind advertisements to kind of remind people that they're here and things like that. Have there been any lessons you've learned going through this process that people should keep in mind when they're putting together a social media advertisement or like a Facebook advertisement? And are you tracking them? And if you are there certain metrics that you found are most helpful to figure out whether the ads are actually doing what you want them to? I know that was kind of convoluted, but it's like a two-part question. So first part, like, how do you build or if you have any lessons for how to build a good social media advertisement, and then how do you track those to find out whether they're successful?
Well, with the how do you build it, it's that's tricky, because I mean, you have to kind of go back to your kind of business motto, whatever. It's like, what about your company why should they choose you? Out of like the sea of all the things, why you? What can you offer them is better than Joe Johnson down the street, Right. So like building around that, or like, what are you offering? Like, what's going to get people to click? You have to have that, what's it called? Like when call to action, you know, you give them a reason to click. I mean, there's different type of advertisements. There's the one that you're just trying to show your face, get attention, which it needs something like, with a photo, something attention grabbing. I kind of want to like, I hate to go back to this, but it was a genius marketing thing. It was the Fire Festival. They decided at a certain time, everybody, like all of this influencers were going to post like an orange block. Right. And like a bunch of people did it. And just the fact that it was so eye-catching, because you're scrolling, there's so much going on, you're scrolling, and then you come to an orange, just a straight up orange screen, and you keep seeing it, and you're like, what is this? Right. I have to know. And so that's what made it really, really successful, other than like, huge influencers or stuff, but it made somebody stop and go, what's all this? Because you're inundated every single day with pictures, words, like everything. So you have to find something eye-catching. And usually it's more of a photo than words. A lot of people read things. At least I don't. I'm all people. I skim when I read, but I do when I see a photo that's like super eye-catching, and that can mean so many different things. Is to get people, like I said, attention is number one hot commodity, is people's attention. Right. Because that's attention means clicks. It means advertising money. And so from there, say you have your cool ad, people are like, whoa, what's this? I need to know more. There's lots of tools on Facebook for analytics that will show you the breakdown of where people go. how long they stayed on your website, which pages they went to, and you can also see who they were, like what are they into. They're like cars, music, fashion. A lot of stuff is kind of like, yeah, of course they're into like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you can kind of see the type of people that are clicking on you can kind of do like a baiting post where you just want to see who is interested, and then once you get those numbers down, then you can get really detailed, and like, you know, you see that a lot of people from Chicago are clicking on your stuff, so you do just Chicago, you know, males 34 to 40 or your target audience, so you can really like dial it in. And there's so many tools that if you ever dive deep, there's so many tools that just you can go on for days about.
Right. So then part of it must be kind of deciding, so first deciding what you want that advertisement to do, and then that's kind of how you measure its success. So if you want this advertisement just to get engagements versus if you want people to click through to a website versus,
exactly.
So like, right. Okay. So then having the purpose down first is like a really good way to go.
Yep.
And then, do you do any kind of like funnel based marketing strategies for sock dreams, or is that kind of something that's already like built into the way that the outreach kind of happens like organically?
Yeah, I mean, I came into sock dreams a little bit later, so they already have sort of a built-in audience, so there was really no kind of building, but I'm always looking to expand. But we definitely have like a funnel of like a type of person that goes to the website. It's very apparent. You know, kind of like alternative, like cosplay, pinup-y type of like that kind of stuff, and that's their audience. But there are definitely ways that you could set that up. Is that's what you want? You want people to click through and go and funnel towards, you know, say you're selling prints.
Right.
There's definitely ways that you could do that too.
Yeah. I have found one of the really interesting things, which I know we've talked about before, and I've talked about a few times on Facebook Live, is just that it's so easy for us as creators to fail to realize that other creators are often not our audience. And so we don't always take the time to engage in the communities that actually buy from us, which is kind of crazy, because that's one lesson I have learned having my foot in kind of two arenas, is that as a photographer, when I'm spending time in the author community, they are much more likely to buy my services or to, you know, to pay me to do something, whether it's creating book covers or, you know, doing illustration work or things like that. They're a lot more likely to hire me than other photographers are. And we want to, of course, surround ourselves with people who can, you know, relate to us. We want, you know, other creatives, other photographers, and we are in these groups and all of that kind of stuff. And I think it's natural to want to be around those people, but we often forget that. You can kind
of set those up in two different, there's your network and then there's your audience.
Right.
An audience will buy, network will be the people that set you up for business partners or, you know, get you to do workshops. That's your network. And then your audience has to be the people who are like, I want your stuff. I will give you monies for your stuff, because they're not a photographer. They're not an artist. And whatever you do to them is just pure magic. Like they don't understand. They're just like, this is amazing.
Yes. So, which is a great like reminder to creators that are, especially if you guys are watching this, make sure you are engaging with your audience, right? Not always your network, but with your audience, with the people that you are trying to sell to or work with, because we get so easily like pulled into our communities, our network. It's easy to forget that we really need to be focused on our audience.
That's so true. Yeah. I mean, like when you think about it, like our network and all the, you know, groups that we're in,
it's the feel good stuff, right?
Yeah. And you want validation and stuff from your peers. And so it makes sense that you would peddle your wares to them as well. But their audience are the ones that will definitely buy more things from you. And
Yep. Agreed. No, I mean, it's true. I know a lot of photographers will really quickly hire me to do illustrations, but they will much less often buy my prints. So you really can kind of see, which makes sense because they're photographers as well. So they can photograph things. Like they don't necessarily, you know, need to come to me if they want imagery, although sometimes it does happen. But if they want like a cartoon of their family, then it's, you know,
it's a whole different medium. And it's, you know, it's just, it's like because they can't do that. And so they're like, it's so fun to see what you would do with your brain. And then that's what's tricky about photography is with a lot of people, you know, having their fancy phone cameras and then that whole talk about, is photography going down, and is it, can they compete, and yeah.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what you said before about how people are now looking for things that are maybe a little less polished or a little more honest, I guess, or authentic. And you can see that sometimes in advertisements as well. You're seeing a lot of images that are less kind of super clean, highly produced, and a lot more that are kind of rougher or almost look like they could have been, taken by somebody with their iPhone or whatever else they have. And I do kind of wonder, we talk about how everything is changing. And then of course, with this situation right now, it's changing even faster and more dramatically. But you do kind of have to wonder.
That's my mom. What's up, Mom? You're busy. Yeah, I am busy.
Yeah, but with everything changing so fast, you do kind of have to wonder how much of the change in photography is going to move toward, I don't want to say democratized, because I don't think that that's necessarily correct, but like more toward things that feel like they were a little bit less produced or a little bit more, authentic, or how that's going to look, because companies for a while have been getting a lot of their advertisements. With an example, a couple of years ago, Merrell, which is an outdoor brand, and they make shoes, which, I'm a fan of. I have, like trail gloves that are one of my favorite shoes to wear when I'm like outside hiking or just kind of scrambling or whatever. But scrambling is when you're climbing on top of rocks that you're not like climbing, just for people who don't know. Yeah, like rock hopping, being out in nature. But so they had put together a contest where the idea was, you send us like your favorite pictures of the outdoors, being outside, doing, hiking, climbing, etc. And then a winner is going to win like a thing of shoes, and you can go check out the terms and conditions over here. So of course, as a photographer and an outdoor lover, I'm like, oh, well, let me check it out, because Merrell would be a really cool company to work with. So I go and look at their terms and conditions. And basically, if you submit your image to the contest, they get all rights now to use your image in perpetuity. They could decide to credit you, but they're not required to credit you. So they're all of these. Yeah.
So what's the point of...
So that now they have, like, you got a pair of shoes and they got your image to use at any point in time for whatever they want to use it for. And it's crazy to think, number one, that we're so quick to give those things away, although most people, to be fair, don't realize the value of what they're giving away. But two, how much these companies are, number one, willing to use these images for advertising purposes. Although I will say, not advertising purposes, always marketing purposes, right? Because advertising is kind of a heightened form of marketing where it's super direct and you have a product you're pushing, rather than just marketing, which is kind of keeping your brand out there. But number one, that they're willing to use those. And number two, that the quality of images the average person is taking is high enough that it can pass as images we would accept from a brand or a company, that we'd be like, oh yeah, okay, cool. We don't go, oh man, that's production value on that was crap. You know what I mean? So it does kind of make you wonder, in the grand scheme of things, where and how that's going to affect us as photographers, and how we're going to have to change our approach in order to kind of remain relevant.
I mean, with anything, you're constantly having to learn and, evolve your art. And with that, I mean, one could argue that somebody willing to give away their photo like that is probably on the lower end of like the skill, just because they don't really know what they're giving away. So maybe that's why they want that, because they want to show that like kind of amateur roughness and say like, look, we're willing to post like your photos, you know what I mean? Just like how
like regular folks, right?
Yeah, just like regular folks. We're regular, just a regular old company, but we doing regular things. But then also they have a platform which they can make millions of dollars, and say the regular Joe Schmo with a camera doesn't, that one photo can sit in their, in their hard drive for years and years and not make millions of dollars, while they could give it to somebody else and it could. But that's just getting into all that. Just because it's like, if I post a photo on Facebook, or it's mine, and then I'm not going to get a million reach on it and make all this money, but a company with that platform is.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's like kind of like that you get like bragging rights in a sort of way, you know?
Yeah.
But
Becca
you'd have
replied to that as well and said, I think that caters to people's egos that their IG picture was good enough. Wow, can that apply to photographers' usual clients as well?
What?
Yeah, Becca, can you clarify?
Yeah.
Can that apply to photographers' usual clients as well? Are you talking about
Having them
like
repost
commercially
your work
or yeah, let's dive into that question a little bit, because that has the potential to be a super interesting thing. She's an instigator, folks.
Oh, she is.
I like it though. I like
poking the bear.
Conversations. That's a good way to instigate. If you're gonna, it's the least likely to get you punched in the head.
To go back around about having, you know, you have to keep up with the times no matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
And like, you know, especially now everything's exponential, right? Like technology is exponentially growing. People are exponentially growing. You know, like, you know, there's more people on the planet. That means that there's just so much more to weed through. And I think that becomes apparent in even like the type of music that is available. You know, back in the day, it used to be like a couple different genres, and then slowly it branches out. And now you have anything you want to listen to it's there. It's available for you.
Right.
And so you're going to always have to evolve. And some people aren't willing to do that. And that's when you see those old photographers who've been doing photography for 40 years. And they're like, well, my business is shot. It's like, well, because nobody wants glamour shots anymore.
Right.
You know, and because they weren't willing to. I mean,
I want glamour shots.
I'll give you glamour shots.
Somebody do. I want to go like this, and I want to have really big hair, and like I want all my perm to glow.
Oh, beautiful! Yeah,
Vaseline on the screen.
We could definitely do that. But I mean, like that's what their business model is, and they were always relying on that. And by the time when that film and digital switch happened, they just weren't willing to learn, and so they floundered. And so it is hard to learn a brand new thing and to keep up with the times, but it's like you have to sink or swim. Like that's what you have to do no matter what. Social media is constantly changing. Technology is constantly changing. The culture is constantly changing, especially now everything is just like zip, 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 you know, between memes and songs and music. It's just the world is a lot faster now, and you just have to keep up with it or don't.
This is true. This is true. I know we've been talking about this kind of in like friend groups for a while, but it does, I think about this a lot because I keep thinking about the fact that things are going to be changed now. Like after anything like this, any big event that alters the way we live, there's this point where everything kind of changes, and it might not be changes in huge ways. And sometimes it's more subtle, but I've been thinking about the fact that this presents, I mean, obviously there's the crap part of it, which we all know and we're experiencing. But there's also this opportunity now to innovate because things are changing and things after this are not going to be the same. So what can we do now? Like a lot of things are moving online that we didn't think would be online before. People are going to digital nightclubs, which is crazy to me, but they're having like, they have to have a drink and they have to dress up in order to be let into that room. And they're paying cover fees to get into these digital spaces with other people who are dressed up and must have a drink to like talk and chat and negotiate and not negotiate, but like to network and all of that kind of stuff, which that's not something I ever would have imagined, especially people doing this from their own homes. So like, that means
that much closer to sleeves. We're all just going to be hooked up to a computer in the Matrix.
Yep. It's going to be the Matrix.
Yep.
But like, so there has to be ways as well to innovate. Like, yeah, Becca, it's true. I know. I was like, if people are paying for that, but I think we're so hungry for that interaction now. Yeah. And some of the articles I've read have actually talked about one of the safest ways for us to reopen a lot of these companies as our economy opens back up is to move a lot of things outdoors. So more outdoor seating that's farther apart, and, you know, just like these different things that are safer, but different than the way that we normally do things. And so now I feel like is the chance for people to really start like thinking ahead about how they can innovate and how they can change what they're doing or what they're offering or who they're offering it to. and it may be like a pretty significant change in how we function as photographers, but that opportunity is there. And there are some people who are going to come out on top of this situation, like way up here. Like they might have been kind of hanging out down here, but they saw something or realized that there were changes they could make, and they're going to come out on top of things.
Right.
And I think if we want to survive as a community and as a group of creators who are earning livings from their work, then we have to start doing that. Like we have to try and look at what's going on and finding out how we can, I don't want to say take advantage of, because I don't mean take advantage of people at all, but I mean take advantage of the opportunity that we have to like change the way that we're working to fit with what the scenario is going to look like after all of this is over.
Right. You have to think about how humanity is going to move forward, because there's going to be a lot of people who are terrified still, you know, some people who are like, it's fine. So you have to really adapt your business to that. And it's kind of tricky because it's this sort of unprecedented way because of, you know, the Spanish flu that happened, but that was a different time with different people and different technology. And so now moving forward, I read an article that, you know, the conversation will change of just like, you know, we're going to have this meeting in person to, does this have to be in person? And can this just be done over, you know, email or through Skype or something like that? And I'm very interested to see how it changes. And I wish I had the foresight to know how it's going to be, but I have no idea. And I think that a lot of stuff that has happened or is happening has surprised me. So it's kind of tricky to say of what exactly is going to happen because there's so much misinformation. So it's really hard to give like a hard opinion on what's going to happen. I guess you just have to kind of know humanity and know how it's going to reply to this. And I think there's going to be quite the spectrum of different things that will happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. And thinking even about kind of the Roaring 20s or the way that their kind of hedonism tends to follow periods of depression, right? Like that always kind of is how that cycle and that cycle rolls. So it does make you kind of wonder when people can start working again, what is it that they're going to want? Because the business exists to fill a need or a perceived need in any case.
Or to make a need.
Right. Or to make one.
Or to make a need.
So what are people going to be after? Like, I listened to an interview where they said, you know, either the people, when they buy, they're either moving away from pain or toward pleasure, right? So what can you offer them that suits either of those things? And if this next kind of epic is us moving into pleasure in kind of this hedonistic way, then what can you offer that fulfills that need or that fits that? If people are wanting to, you know, they're wanting
dirty pictures.
Boudoir photography, obviously. That's what we would do now. But yeah, there's and like you, I mean, I don't have the answers and I don't really know necessarily what that means, but I will tell you that I am like thinking on it hard because I don't want to become obsolete after this is over.
More like just like, you know, what are the businesses that are thriving right now? You know, in photography land, that means tutorials. People are making more videos on teaching other people. Like, what can you safely do from home? So like kind of intangible things are kind of thriving right now versus like, you know, the construction you can't go out and do actual physical things. And I think society has kind of been moving that way in a long time anyway. Just, you know, the web, the cloud, the matrix, you know, things like that, like intangible things that don't cost anything to make, but will make you money, like presets, digital backdrops. Hey, Kate.
The backdrop studio.
Like things that are intangible and could be sold without actual product, which also kind of goes on to like keeping things green, you know, no waste, like zero waste and like things like that can be done with zero emissions or like a really low carbon footprint. And I think that's really where a lot of the stuff will be moving towards, because it has been for a long time.
Right.
So like, you know, the green movement, which is great, you know, and just that's where I see a lot of things going. But like, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for you? That's the real question.
Yeah. I also think there's going to be a huge resurgence in all forms of entertainment and escapism.
Yes,
Because I feel like right now a lot of people are wanting to get away from their fear, and they want to and it's so reality reimagined. Folks are looking for ways to control their fear. Information is a power over fear, and feed the pleasure concept because they are empowered. Education is going to be king. And that certainly could be the case, but I definitely agree that people are looking for ways to deal with that. And historically, as one of the reasons that Nickelodeons were the boom of movie industry, because people needed to get away from this constant fear of war and depression and like all of this kind of stuff. And so I see that being a really important way that people are going to be dealing with kind of this issue and then the aftermath of this as well.
Well, yeah, what is it? Like just it's a distraction. And with distraction, you want to feel like you're bettering yourself or actually doing something productive, education, those kind of things to kind of get your mind off of it. Like I just bought, what is it? The Switch to like distract myself.
Right.
So that is booming. Like just like, you know,
video games and yep. And also, I think that there's something in which, of course, I mean, I talk about a lot because I'm a storyteller. I write, I'm an author, I write fantasy, and a lot of the stuff that I shoot is kind of fantasy based. But I think in that escape, people also kind of want hope, right? They want to see overcoming, and they want to see and feel like go on that journey of hard things happen, but we win in the end kind of thing. And so,
except for Game of Thrones.
Right. Don't watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
nobody overcomes in that show. I mean, like
too real.
We thought they were going to break the wheel, and they just refashioned the wheel. But anyway, so I mean, it's an interesting thing, and I hope more people jump in on this conversation about, you know, kind of where they see that stuff going, because innovate or die. I mean, that's in any business, like you said, but right now, I mean, I think it's more obvious than ever that things can't keep going the way that they were. They're just not going to be functional in whatever the society looks like after this.
I mean, just trying to see how you like, my whole motto is like, I want to make money while I sleep. To have like a trickle of things. And I really see my business moving more towards, you know, like online things like subscriptions and like actual attempting at workshops and things that people can slowly buy on their own time versus like in-house, like in-person type client work, which, you know, it kind of sucks for the people who really heavily relied on that now. And that's kind of where their business has to go. And I've seen a lot of people who've kind of starting to make that switch over to digital content versus that, because it's like you have to innovate, you have to know what the times are, you have to know and then take advantage of the situation.
Right. Which is interesting because there are a few educators I know that do exclusively in-person stuff. And while that was working, they were doing extremely well, like making very good money and giving great service to their clients and all of this kind of stuff. But when something like this happens, it just proves to you how unstable that ground potentially could be. And then if you don't have some other kind of revenue stream, then it really does kind of leave you high and dry. So it does make you wonder how you need to
diversify your portfolio.
With
how many baskets and eggs you got to put out there.
all the baskets
and 20 eggs in each basket.
Hopefully like 80 million eggs in each basket.
Oh yeah, I would like 80 million
baskets.
They're going to be big baskets with golden eggs.
Well woven baskets, very sturdy.
You can drink water out of them.
They're
multi-use. They're multi-use.
As everything.
Wear them as a hat, or you can drink from them.
And
they're really sturdy.
You get your eggs and your basket and a pot. It's all the things. It's like a thneed.
It's just a metaphor
every
for
purpose.
how, exactly. There you go. That's just, you have to be a well-stocked woven basket.
That's what you need to be. If you want to survive. On that note, we are a little past our hour. So our awesome people who have joined us on YouTube, if you guys have any more questions before we go, get them in now before we start closing up.
And I will terribly answer them.
And just answer them in the worst way you possibly can. Oh, that sounds
like a good
deal.
I will talk around it and then not answer it.
I think we should now do that. In fact, I feel like we need an entire episode now where we just give the worst answer to every question we can possibly think of.
Yeah, we're just baskets. rolling in the
that's
wind.
all we are.
Just tumbly turning in a stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
baskets desperate for some eggs.
Yeah, just wish there were just these golden eggs.
All these baskets want are eggs.
That's all they need.
And to be very tightly woven.
Yeah.
I feel like that I am tightly woven, and that's part of my problem.
They just get a hammer and
somebody needs to like loosen me up a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
Be like,
I'll get a hammer and just kind of hammer you out there a little bit.
Yeah, be like, it's gonna be okay, basket. Your eggs are out there somewhere.
Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze.
Your eggs will come. Question: how do you make a basket?
With finesse and your hands.
Reeds?
Your hands, perhaps some sort of natural material
of some fiber of some type.
You could use human hair if you really wanted to.
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah, either donated or taken forcefully.
Yeah, I like taken forcefully so you know it's strong.
Yeah.
Because that's when you rip it out and somebody is like, no, you get it all. It's really good. Yeah.
Oh, all the way down to the root.
Yeah. You gotta.
Yeah, that's making for the best baskets.
Yeah, that's the only way.
Yeah. Agreed. Human hair, tightly woven.
Yeah.
Taken by force.
Taken by force. It makes the best basket. Yeah, that's the ones that you can really like get some. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the eggs go. The good ones.
The good eggs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, like we won't even get into how you find the eggs because if you
the world is not ready. The world is not ready for how you get the eggs.
It did escalate fast. I agree. But I'm not mad about it.
No, these are you should see the conversations we have when there's no
or you shouldn't.
Or you should.
You may not be ready for that.
No, they're just like the eggs. That's where you get the eggs. The hidden Easter eggs are in the conversations we have off camera. You have to plunge it out of there.
With plungers?
Plungers, yeah.
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 Hopefully like not used plungers.
No, that's
recently bought sanitized plungers. I don't want used plungers in my conversation.
Okay, fine. That's a nitty gritty. I'm
picky. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Social Hour. The end is always the best.
What did we even talk about? I don't know.
Only important stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to follow Olga on Instagram or check out her website or her Patreon, I will have her links in the description so you can go find all of the amazing stuff that she creates. Go show her your support. If you found this interesting talk interesting, please give it a like and a subscribe. I have a lot more amazing people that are going to be on the show. We will have Renee Robin on the show. Ken Yu will be here for the Social Hour.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I have like a list on my wall now. Kelly Robitaille is going to be here on my wall of like everybody that is building up now for these interviews. So it's going to be really fun. And if you found use in it or you thought it was just worth an hour and some change of your time, then please share that and let other people know that this content is out there. So, we just got
digital
Dal.
Content.
We just got Dal at the very last minute. Oh, so sad, Dal. I wish you were here. But that being said, hit the little bell if you want notifications for when the next video comes out. Should we dance our way out?
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us. I don't have any really great moves, but and we will see you next time. Keep an eye out on my Instagram or Facebook for notifications. Ooh, Becca, that's a good question.
How should I link on IG? Huh?
I don't know. I'll put things.
What is she saying?
I'll put description things. I think I don't know if she means you or the interview show. I'll ask her.
Okay.
I'll do things, but yeah. Okay. Bye guys. Bye.